King Solomon. The name alone carries immense weight in both history and biblical lore. He is revered as the wealthiest, wisest, and most powerful king who ever lived. But behind the riches, the wisdom, and the legendary status lies a story much darker, more complex, and far more mysterious than anyone could imagine. How did a king, blessed by God himself with the gift of wisdom, end up entangled in the web of sin, idolatry, and spiritual corruption? Solomon's wealth is beyond comprehension. He amassed gold, silver, jewels, and treasures that even the most powerful empires of today would envy. His kingdom was the jewel of the ancient world, and his reign was marked by prosperity, peace, and unparalleled grandeur. But there was a secret to Solomon's wealth, a spiritual secret, hidden deep within the choices he made and the life he lived. But what about his 1,000 wives and concubines? How did one man, with the wisdom of the ages, allow himself to fall into such overwhelming temptation and excess? Solomon's marriages were not just political alliances, they were spiritual snares. Each wife, each concubine, came from a different land, bringing with her her own gods, idols, and beliefs. And over time, Solomon's heart turned away from the one true God, entangled by the very riches and power he had once been blessed with. How did the wisest man to ever live fall into the trap of idolatry and sin? The Bible tells us that Solomon, in his later years, allowed his wives to lead him astray. He built altars to foreign gods, worshipped idols, and sacrificed to gods that were never meant to be honored by Israel. The man who had once built the glorious temple of God in Jerusalem was now defiling his heart with the very things that would lead to the downfall of his kingdom. But Solomon's story is not just one of spiritual failure. It is also a tale of profound spiritual wisdom, wisdom that transcends time and still speaks to us today. Solomon wrote Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon, books filled with divine insight that guide us even in the darkest of times. His story is a paradox, a man who experienced both the heights of divine wisdom and the depths of human folly. Was Solomon's downfall inevitable? Was his wealth, power, and wisdom a blessing or a curse? As Solomon's kingdom began to crumble, the consequences of his actions echoed through generations. The nation of Israel was divided, and the once glorious kingdom was broken. His story serves as a warning for all of us, how easily even the greatest can fall when they lose sight of their foundation. But here's the real question. What lessons can we learn from Solomon's story today? What spiritual truths can we uncover from his rise to greatness, his fall from grace, and the mysterious secrets that remain hidden beneath the surface of his life? Solomon's wealth, his many wives, his wisdom, and his ultimate fall from grace are not just relics of ancient history, they are reflections of the choices we make every day. They show us the dangers of living for worldly gain, the trap of chasing after pleasures, and the importance of staying faithful to the one true God. The consequences of his actions did not only affect him, they reverberated throughout history, shaping the future of Israel and the world. Solomon's kingdom was divided, and his once mighty empire crumbled into ruins. His descendants, who inherited both his wisdom and his flaws, would never know the peace and prosperity he once had. Solomon's story became a warning that still echoes today: the price of turning away from divine wisdom, the cost of indulgence, and the devastating impact of forsaking one's faith for the idols of the world. But there's something even darker beneath the surface, something that many have tried to hide or dismiss. The spiritual secrets Solomon uncovered were not just about wisdom and wealth. There are hidden elements of his story that many don't want you to know. Solomon's knowledge of the supernatural, his dealings with demonic forces, and his obsession with controlling the unseen world reveal a man who went far beyond the limits of what God had intended. Did Solomon's pursuit of forbidden knowledge lead to the ultimate corruption of his soul? The Bible is clear. His heart was led astray by the very things he once used to build the kingdom of God. But in those dark years, Solomon delved into the occult, seeking power and control that went against the very Spirit of God. The question is, did he uncover ancient, forbidden knowledge that no man was meant to wield? And if so, what did he discover, and how did it change the course of history? Could Solomon's wisdom have been manipulated by darker forces? As Solomon grew in power, so did his connection to forces beyond human understanding. Some say that the magic he practiced, the altars he built, and the strange alliances he made opened doors to an unseen world, one where angels, demons, and ancient powers played a game with humanity's fate. And what if the treasures Solomon gathered weren't just gold and jewels, but something far more dangerous, something that could control the very fabric of the spiritual world? And what about the legacy of his 1,000 wives? Did they play a role in his spiritual descent? Solomon's marriages were not just political moves. They were spiritual unions that brought with them a multitude of dark rituals and beliefs. These wives, some of whom came from the most powerful empires of the time, introduced Solomon to their gods and rituals. What if these gods were not just idols, but gateways to something far more sinister? Was Solomon's wisdom twisted by these foreign influences? And did his desire to control everything around him, including the spiritual realm, ultimately lead him into the hands of those who had been waiting for centuries for the perfect man to manipulate? The most shocking revelation is this: Solomon knew the power of God, yet he chose the path of forbidden knowledge. His wealth, his wisdom, and his reign could have been the greatest in history, but they became the catalyst for his destruction. Solomon's fall from grace wasn't just a result of his lust for power. It was because he sought to control the forces of the world beyond his understanding. The kingdom of Israel fell, his own soul was torn, and the spiritual forces that Solomon tried to wield have been influencing humanity ever since. Is it possible that the spiritual secrets Solomon uncovered are still hidden today? Some believe that the ancient knowledge Solomon sought is locked away in the vaults of secret societies, buried deep within ancient texts and relics that hold the key to unimaginable power. What did Solomon truly discover in his pursuit of forbidden wisdom? And how might it still be shaping the course of history, even in our modern world? The question remains, will you uncover the truth that Solomon tried and failed to grasp? The spiritual battles that Solomon fought are not over. They're happening now. And the real question is, are we repeating the same mistakes? The secrets he uncovered, the power he sought, and the wisdom he lost, they are not just part of ancient history. They are a part of our story too. And if we are not careful, we might fall into the same traps that Solomon did. If you're ready to dive even deeper into these mysteries, if you want to uncover the secrets Solomon couldn't control, hit the like button, share this video with others, and subscribe. This journey has only just begun. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. God bless you.